In the age of rapid digital transformation, leaders must evolve into cyborg leaders, visionaries who harness artificial intelligence to enhance decision making, drive productivity, and even cultivate human potential. Now, AI is not a replacement for leadership. Rather, it is a powerful tool that, when integrated effectively, fosters collaboration, creativity, and efficiency. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Analytics Insight podcast, where we talk about the ever evolving tech space. And I'm your host, Priya Dialani. Now, imagine waking up to a breaking news story: AI replaces thousands of jobs overnight. The fear sets in. What does this mean for businesses, industries, and most importantly, leadership? Now, as AI reshapes workplaces and decision making, leaders face an extremely unprecedented challenge: adapting to a world where AI is not just an assistant but a co pilot in business strategy. Now, will AI replace leaders too, or does it demand a new kind of leadership, one that blends human ingenuity with machine intelligence? Now, this is just a hypothetical scenario. But in fact, I believe that is an accurate summary of a dilemma that organizations are facing today. So, how are we going to navigate this entire scenario? Let's welcome Arun Jagannathan. He is an AI evangelist and serial entrepreneur with over 20 years of experience transforming education and business through technology. Hi, Arun. How are you doing?
Hi, Priya. Thanks for having me here. Excited to
Great.
share my thoughts. Yeah.
Definitely. It's a pleasure to have you with us on a podcast today, Arun. And I guess we are going to touch upon a very different topic, what exactly this cyborg mindset is. But before we dive deeper into this interesting topic, we would like to know more about you, Arun. So, while you have an extensive experience of 20 years, how has your journey been till date? Can you tell us more about your experience and journey, and how it has shaped your career till date?
Great. Thanks, Priya. So, I'm actually an accidental entrepreneur. I ended up spending about 10 years in the IT sector, doing a variety of different things. But somewhere deep down, my calling was in teaching. And that's when I kind of quit my corporate job and got into teaching. But this was for higher education. So I specifically teach a test called the GMAT and help people with their MBA admissions and applications process. So that's been my entrepreneurial journey. And, for the first decade of my entrepreneurship, it was classrooms. So just to give you a time context, I was in IT from about 2000 till 2011. And I got into entrepreneurship teaching from 2011 onwards. And for the first few years, if you were to go back, there was no edtech, there was no online. So we pretty much had physical centers. We had centers across various cities. We are located off Bangalore. But somewhere around 2019, I got accepted to a Stanford program called the Stanford Transformation Program, which actually helped me think about things a little different. I applied the lens of innovation, and it so happened that 2020, when pandemic hit, I decided to go completely online. And this is also when EdTech was really catching up. So I kind of wrote that EdTech thing for the first few years. And, somewhere along the line, we had AI. So that's where I got interested in AI. And last 4 years has been online trying to innovate around education using AI.
Great. I think that's a very interesting journey and quite an impressive experience, I would say. And, I think at its core, when we are talking about, artificial intelligence and how it has been reshaping different industries, many organizations haven't been able to adopt a growth mindset. Now, a growth mindset is a belief that one's abilities and intelligence can be developed through dedication, hard work, and input from others. Now, unlike a fixed mindset, which assumes that our capabilities are static and unchangeable, a growth mindset thrives on challenge and sees failure not as evidence of unintelligence, but as a heartening springboard for growth and stretching our existing abilities. Now, I think all of this definitely sounds a lot too much to digest, but I think it practically applies to the real world that we are living in, especially which is driven by AI. So, what does it mean to have a cyborg mindset as a leader in today's AI driven world? And of course, if you could help us understand what exactly is this cyborg mindset that everybody's talking about.
Right. So I think most people have probably heard this quote which says, AI is not going to replace you, but someone who knows AI is going to replace you. And the way I define someone who knows AI is really the cyborg. Now, if I were to kind of expand on what AI really does, you use the word co-pilot. So I think AI is a great co-pilot, in which case what it means is that the human is the pilot, he is the captain of the ship, and AI is something that can help augment his abilities in such a way that he can not just use AI as a co-pilot, but as a leader, he can also use AI as a co-thinker. So for the first time, we have got a tool which is not going to just help us, from a sense of helping us from augmenting a physical thing. For example, if I have a Zoom call, it helped me not travel and take the call from wherever I'm located. So all the inventions that we have had so far were some kind of a tool that helped us. For the first time, we have a general purpose technology in AI similar to electricity or the steam engine, where you have something that can actually do the thinking for you. And I think this is the first time that mankind is looking at a invention where if the thinking can be done by a machine, then the question arises, what is it that is left for me as a human to do? And I think the approach with a cyborg mindset is to say that there are things that are very uniquely me, that are things that are very uniquely human. Critical thinking, curiosity, communicating with people are all things that a human alone can do. But then there are certain things where he can go to an AI to really, for example, if I want to generate ideas, or if I want to come up with, let's say, a design or a copy or even code, I have AI do it for me. So the future leader is really someone who still remains the captain of the flight, but uses a co-pilot, both things along with AI, in order to do 10x of what was possible. So the cyborg mindset is something where we say, I want to be a human, but at the same time, I'm also going to incorporate AI in my workflow in such a way that it's almost impossible for me to pick out which part is human and which part is AI, because the eventual output that you get is a mix of both the human and the AI working together.
Right. I never came across that code like you shared that AI will not replace you. It is someone who knows AI will replace you. And I think that's so apt and so legit if you talk about the use of artificial intelligence. And of course, you highlighted some important aspects that leaders can definitely use AI as a code thinker. And there's something out there for you that are doing the job of thinking for you. So I think that definitely is one of the key aspects when we are trying to be a leader in an AI-driven world. I think, and of course, you also mentioned about the difference between what a human would eventually do if AI takes over. And I'm going to come to that point later on in our discussion. But the AI conversation is not just, I think, a talk that usually parents are having these days with their children. Every single one of us, especially the current and aspiring leaders, must reflect on the coming AI-oriented future and take steps to prepare what will be rapidly approaching the new normal. Now I'm increasingly convincing, and like I believe that to thrive in a world of AI, I think it will come down to three particular traits. You need to have the right mindset, you need to have the right skills, and of course the right profession as well. So how do you think that these C level executives or decision makers of large organization can shift from traditional leadership to something into an AI augmented thinking?
So I think the first thing is to kind of have a working relationship with the AI. So a lot of times what I feel is so far the way we have interacted with the computer system has been, and I'm going to quote Ethan Malik, who is the author of the book Co-Intelligence, Living and Working in with AI. And he's one of the foremost leaders and thought leaders in terms of AI. And he has this very interesting concept of a centaur and a cyborg. So a centaur is half human, half horse. So there are tasks for which I can go to the computer. I'm very clearly human in giving the task to the computer. the computer, for example, can process an Excel or a spreadsheet and can give me the analysis, and it's a very clear transactional task. I know which part I'm the human and which part the computer is playing, or the AI is kind of fulfilling. But what is happening is more and more tasks are such that you go to the AI and you ask the AI for something, and the AI is great at diverging, right? You can get 10 new ideas. You can ask for 50 new blog titles, or you can ask for 100 new names for a new company or a startup that you want to set up. So AI gives you a lot of options, but with the human in the loop, what happens? The human then looks at the output and then goes a little deeper and says, well, of the 10 options, I like option 3 and option 7. And then, have this constant back and forth with the AI in such a way that you actually engage with the AI till you get the final output. Now, for example, we help students with their MBA applications. And one of the things that happens over there is we use AI to create, the essays. Sometimes, students or someone, were to come and ask saying, what percentage of this is you and what percentage of this is the AI? Is it like 30% you and 70% AI, or, 70% AI, 30% you? Well, it's impossible to actually put a number like that, because it's 100% me, but it's also 100% AI. Because the first draft or the first version came from the AI, but the last draft always comes from me, because I put my name to it and I kind of, own up to whatever output I'm creating. So I think a lot of tasks that leaders would do with AI, the way they interact with AI is going to change. So when you mentioned about the mindset, so the mindset required for such a scenario would be, how do I really expand my, there is this particular quadrant, which is I don't know what I don't know, right? So there are things that I know that I don't know. I know I don't know how to fly a plane, but there are things that I don't know that I don't know, right? So with AI, what happens is you start expanding that particular blind spot. And AI does a fantastic job of giving you perspectives that you thought did not exist. So I think that's where the mindset comes. From a skills perspective, I think there is a lot of focus the last few years on technical skills. But if I were to look at the way at least the big tech companies are working, uh, AI is really becoming a consumer tech. So I don't need to train a model, or I don't need to, do all the tech stuff. I can actually use it like I would use a Google search, but it's just slightly smarter and works a little different. So the focus for people should actually be, especially if you're a business user, if you're a leader, if you're, let's say, someone who's heading a sales function or someone heading a marketing function. So you don't need to get caught up in the tech bit of things. I think the skill really that needs to be developed is, how do I talk to AI? How do I engage with it? And how do I create the output that eventually is going to help me meet my KPIs, and is going to make things faster, better, cheaper, whatever your KPI is. So that's the way I would look at working with AI, especially for leaders.
Right, I think that's a very interesting perspective that you shared, Arun, and thank you for sharing those insights. And yeah, I think I agree with you that it's really important to have a relationship with the artificial intelligence tool or an application. And I mean, and also, of course, helping us understand between a centaur and a cyborg mindset and how they both are different aspects. And I think the world has entered into an intelligent age, driven by AI. Now, while some of them are very skeptical about this technology and its impact, even today, despite the evolutions that we have seen till date, a lot of people still think that AI ignites a skill revolution and will define a relationship with work. Well, definitely. I mean, it is going to define our relationship with work and change how we are working. But I think that's in a good way, I believe. I was just going through this research and I came across this new Workday research, Elevating Human Potential. And it reveals that most employees, that around 83% of them, believe that AI will make uniquely human skills even more critical. And nearly 76% crave more human connection as AI usage grows. So this points to a world where who we are matters more than ever before. So earlier you discussed about that eventually when you are collaborating with AI, AI will definitely be AI, but then there are other skills which human will definitely need, like critical thinking and human creativity. So how do you think that with AI in the picture, how do you think that AI tools and application can enhance critical thinking, human creativity, and even strategic decision making?
So I think what is also happening with AI is that uh, if I were to look at it from a output quality perspective, on a scale of 1 to 10, I think an AI does a job which is, let's say, a 7 on 10. Uh, so if you are a 4 on 10 in terms of your own ability, then what happens, whatever comes out of the AI looks perfect to you, because at a 4 out of 10, you can't really judge what a 7 out of 10 looks like, and you think it looks perfect. But you have to be a 9 on 10 for you to really take a 7 on 10 and add your own perspective, your own judgment, and to elevate it and to really critically, kind of look at what the output is. What this really means is that 80% of most workforce, right, the bottom of the pyramid, so to speak, in terms of quality and productivity, would find it very, very challenging to compete with AI. Like if I'm a journalist and if I want to write, if I don't know how to do research and how do I, create the right copy, I can just go to, any AI tool, it'll give me something, I'll be happy with that output. But then that's not what really I bring to the table. So I think that's really what's going to happen across professions, uh, whether it be programmers, whether it be marketers, whether it be any other kind of role, where the top 20% are really going to bring their ninja skills, so to speak, to work, where they will be working with an AI. But because the human is a 9 on 10, with the AI tool, they are able to kind of create the output that only they can create. The other thing, and this is specifically for leaders, is that I want to go back to, let's say, maybe 1995. Okay, 30 years ago, the PC was just introduced at the workplace, and internet had just come in. People just got their own email addresses. So an executive in 1995 had to do the same adjustment, right? Whatever he was sending through fax or whatever media he had now gets suddenly replaced by sending emails to people. So the same thing is going to happen now. You can't delegate it. It's a non-delegatable thing. You can't say, well, someone else can figure it out, unless and until a person really rolls up his or her sleeves and tries out these AI tools for an hour or two a day. That's when they get a real hang of what's happening. So I think two parts to it. So one is um, you need to do the critical thinking because you are really left with that, since AI is taking care of most of it. So 80% of mediocrity will go off. And the second thing is it's non-delicatable. It's not something that you can have someone else do on your behalf. But the only way for you to learn and work with it is just get your hands dirty and spend time every day figuring out things for yourself.
Yeah, very well said. I think it's really important to get your hands dirty in terms of these evolving and emerging technologies, and how you can leverage it for your maximizing your benefits and operation efficiency. So, I think a cyborg mindset is really crucial because it empowers organizations to leverage AI, to drive innovation, and as well as create new value propositions. But as human creativity, as it continues to push the boundaries of these new technologies, I think leaders around the world are still grappling with practical challenges pertaining to regulation, infrastructure, and even access. Now, in fact, this boom in generative AI is bringing in fears of an AI arms race where governments and corporations alike are competing to, snag the top spot. So we also saw this unfolding in Silicon Valley with the OpenAI governance debate that pushed tech giant Microsoft to accelerate its ambitions in the space. Now, while the non-profit pioneered research in the field, it has faced challenges around how to responsibly govern this rapidly advancing field of work, bringing the issue of AI stewardship to the forefront. So, what do you think are some of the biggest challenges that the leaders are facing today in terms of adopting AI in their overall decision-making process?
So I would say there are two parts to this. One would be at a macro level, and the other at a micro level. So I'll first start with the micro level. I've heard a lot of people, a lot of leaders being skeptical about some output that the AI is giving, which is quote unquote, not as good as it should be. My advice to them is no matter what AI you're using, you are using the worst version of the AI. It is just going to get better, as we have seen from the last 2 years, ChatGPT moment, where first time people saw consumer tech where they could interact with AI, and it wasn't something that was hidden behind some, technical layer. They realized that, wow, this is a lot of things that I can do. But within 2 years, in fact, it's about 2.5 years since ChatGPT launched, we have seen the models go 10x. So I see this kind of growing. So in case people are worried, leaders are worried about the current version, I just have to say you have to keep the faith that the future versions are going to improve. Now, at a macro perspective, I think what you're saying, very valid concern. And the concern is more around if I were to look at the US, and if I were to look at Europe, and if I were to look at China, right? Because these are the three major forces where in the US you have all the tech giants. You have, of course, OpenAI, but you also have others like Grok, which are from the US, large language models. Uh, you look at China, I think it came up with DeepSeek that really rattled everyone. But now they have another one called Manners AI that is also kind of creating some ripples and shock waves. So I think India is trying to align itself with Europe. So our prime minister went to Europe with the French, president. They actually had some kind of a bilateral agreement. So I think companies are now going to look at AI like any other commodity, like energy or oil. So there are going to be competitive advantage that countries will have, and you will see protectionism coming out from every player, right? So I think that's bound to happen in this geopolitical space, and it's very interesting because till now technology was typically not something that got impacted by politics, but with LLMs and AI, I see that playing more and more in the years to come.
Right, I very much liked your thought that, everybody is going to, even like the top governments are going to look at AI like a commodity, and, everybody is in this rat race of becoming like an AI first country, or somebody who's trying to achieve like the AI top spot. And I think that is going to continue, and I don't think there's any stopping anywhere. But all technologies have its pros and cons, and a few have raised as many concerns and debates as artificial intelligence. So somebody that are they a force of industry and societal progress, or a threat that will make countless professions obsolete. Now, regardless of what one stands in the debate, let's just be clear that AI is here to stay and is transforming industries, be it healthcare or finance or manufacturing in ways that weren't imaginable a few years ago. However, I mean, having AI being implemented responsibly is very important. Now, the ethical and transparent use of AI is something that not only fosters trust, but it also ensures compliance with regulations and alignment with societal expectations as well. So, while everybody is trying to adopt AI, what are your views as to how organizations should view ethics, bias, and responsible implementation of AI?
I think there is this one thing which is, as I mentioned, AI is a general purpose technology like electricity, right? And the ramifications of that technology are not it's not just production of electricity, but let's say invention of the light bulb, which is going to make a difference to mankind. So AI is still playing out, and I think nobody really knows how things are going to go. So at that point, it becomes very hard for us to put regulations. And I think the analogy over here would be a new consumer tech, like, for example, Uber. So when Uber came out, not many countries really had a policy around how should I treat, a taxi service which is going to be managed by an app. So got, as things rolled out, I think people were in parallel creating the laws to safeguard the implementation. And I see something very similar that is going to happen with AI, which is we don't know what we don't know, as I said earlier. So, what's going to happen is we may have some laws in place, but that itself will be constantly evolving, changing as we see newer applications of AI, newer domains where once we thought, that AI would not be, but actually come in. So, if I were to give a sense of how I see, is there is blue collared labor, there is white collared labor, there is knowledge workers, and then there are, the creative people. So if you look at AI revolution, it's actually come from the other way, which means that it's first the creative people whose jobs have actually been threatened, which is why the Hollywood writers are on strike, right? Because the next movie in 2029 is going to be made completely using AI. The next in line are knowledge workers. These are people who could be, let's say, programmers or lawyers, where a large part of what they do is based on some inherent knowledge that they have. And after creativity, knowledge work is the one that AI impacts the most. That leaves you with white collar, which is not as impacted, but still there is going to be a huge impact. But the blue collar in this whole list are actually the least impacted. So if you are a high school teacher, or if you are a nurse, or any such profession where you need to be physically present, let's say in a retail store setting, then you have the least impact of AI. So I would say that, when you mentioned about ethics and transparency and making sure that the jobs are getting impacted through AI, there is some rationalization. I think there could also be perhaps various categories. And within each category, we need to see how AI adoption is happening and maybe keep laws relevant to that.
Yeah, I think I agree to that. That nowadays artificial intelligence is more like a general purpose technology, and I think yeah, nobody knows how things are going to go, and I mean, how are you going to advance in this already advancing field? And I think with the regulations in the picture, I think slowly and gradually as things will be advancing, the regulation landscape will also evolve accordingly. And eventually I think it's the mindset and the flexibility that people and organizations need to have in terms of adapting to the changing times and advancements, even considering the regulations as well. So I think leaders who focus on this transformation by focusing on more encouraging adoption and training and promoting innovation will enable their organizations to both survive and thrive in an AI driven world. So, having said that, last question for you, Arun. How do you think that AI will be shaping the next generation of leaders?
So I think if I were to look at the way corporate works or any business works, I think fundamentally we are focused on profits, which have two levers. Either I improve my revenue top line, or I am able to use AI as a cost optimization tool. I can drive down costs. And what I see happening is that both of them playing out. So, from a leadership perspective, I'm looking at AI and I'm asking, what is it that I can do that I couldn't have done before? What is the kind of value that I'm able to create? And the second question I'm going to ask in the same breath is, now that I know what I want to do, what is the most easiest and most efficient and effective way for me to execute that with AI? Now, one thing that I want to make very clear is that I feel that you always need people, you'll always have a human in the loop. So, leaders really need to transform their organization where they are working with people, the team members who kind of look at what is the eventual outcome. So, Right now, what happens is a lot of business flows, we have been doing status quo without AI. So now with AI, the idea is not to say, what is it that I'm doing with AI? Can I do it, differently? Is the wrong question to ask. The right question to ask is, what is my eventual outcome? Because really, what AI does is it can help you reach your outcome. So rather than working on my output, I'm focusing on my outcome to kind of redraw my workflow. And if you imagine a job to be a bundle of tasks, take each job, kind of de bundle it, right? So look at all the tasks that a particular job has and ask, where can I use AI as a complement, and where can I use AI as a substitute? And to kind of relook and reimagine the entire workflow is going to be a key for the business leader to both, as I said, increase top line, increase the value, as well as use it for cost. The other thing that kind of comes into play is the ability to create an innovation culture within the company. So, one thing that I usually say is that you cannot train someone on AI. It's something that people have to figure out. People have to spend time, because anyone who's doing the job, he's closest to the problem, so he knows what needs to be done, and he needs to think, well, with AI, how can I do it, as I said, better, faster, cheaper, whatever that metric be. So having that innovation culture, reimagining workflows, and kind of keeping the eye on the profit are some of the key things that leaders need to keep in mind as they get into 2025 and beyond.
Right, and I think after the entire discussion, becoming a cyborg leader isn't about replacing human leadership with AI. It's about empowering leaders with AI to create more agile, empathetic, and visionary organizations. And like you mentioned, I think the most successful leaders of 25 will be those who can embrace AI as a co-pilot, where they can balance technology with human intuition and even ethical leadership. So thank you so much, Arun. It was a pleasure having you with us on our podcast today, and thank you for helping our listeners understand that business and organization who can foster a culture of adaptability and continuous learning. I think they can overcome the barriers to AI adoption and gain much out of the transformative potential. And even eventually, from reshaping leadership approaches to empowering employees at each level. I think cultivating an AI mindset ensures resilience and success in a fast evolving landscape. So thank you so much for your time and insights. It was pleasure having an insightful conversation with you.
Thank you, Priya. It was great questions, and I loved sharing my thoughts. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Arun. So this is for our listeners. Stay tuned for our upcoming podcast, and you can view all our previous podcasts on Spotify and other leading platforms. Thank you so much.